Welcome to that 80s show, and Dory, I solved it.
Solved what?
I solved. No one's ever solved a Rubik's Cube, Dory.
Yeah, I had to take the stickers off.
Tore the stickers off.
We did.
We tore all the... Because we're cheating 80s children.
Yeah,
we're
generation of cheaters because of the Rubik's Cube. I blame the Rubik's Cube for that.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right.
What did you solve?
It's a question that has plagued us since the middle 80s. Who's the boss? Who's the boss? You know, it's me. I'm the boss.
Okay.
I am the boss. Welcome to that 80s show, coming to you from our little space in a corner of Bryanston, next to a meeting room where there was a meeting this morning, Dory.
Yeah.
Where a very toxic 1980s male definitely did military service.
Did he have a moustache?
Had moustache.
Of course.
Definitely did military service.
Short sleeve, button-up shirt, brown tie.
He didn't have because people don't wear ties anymore.
Okay. Khaki pants.
A good chino. Good chino.
All right.
He was definitely not top brass in the army, but definitely higher than the normal troopie. This was the vibe he gave. This man spoke for a full hour. Can you imagine the voice of hearing one man speak for a full hour?
Imagine. While
you're about to experience it. Next 45 minutes or so. This is that 80s show, and we're going to jump straight into one of Dory's favorites. Dory, how would you feel on this fine morning if I had to tell you, as we fade down the music, that I want to jump straight into Robert Downey Jr.?
Well, I'm not going to say anything.
And not only are we jumping into Robert Downey Jr., then he was called just Robert Downey. We're also jumping into Anthony Michael Hall.
Okay.
So, Dory, we're talking about Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Michael Hall. We're talking 1985. Where are these two? Like, just off the top of your head. They're not superstar yet, but they're Brat Pack.
Yeah.
16 Candles. Oh, Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
Been there. Robert Downey Jr. We know who they are.
Robert Downey really only came to prominence with Less Than Zero in 1987.
Mm-hmm. But before that, he was doing stuff.
He was.
All is around. People knew who they were. There was a bit of a vibe. Dory, we have never mentioned this, and therefore I'm not sure that you know it. Did you know that these two were cast members on the worst season of Saturday Night Live?
I know that Robert Downey Jr. was on Saturday Night Live.
Okay. We've never spoken about it.
No, I haven't actually seen any of the episodes.
So now we're going to talk about it in detail.
Okay.
Right. So much Saturday Night Live content lately, every now and again stumbling upon something.
I've pretty much hardly ever watched it, I'll be honest.
I really... Listen, of course, you got the 80s, the late 70s, early 80s golden era, and of all the guys who were in all our movies. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy.
Jim Carrey, I think, hey?
Jim Carrey wasn't on.
Oh, what was
he?
What
he
am I
wasn't
thinking
in
of?
Living Color.
That's what I'm thinking of.
So, of course, yes, then the Wayans brother, Damon Wayans, the Wayans brothers went and started their own thing, and Jim Carrey wasn't there, Jennifer Lopez wasn't there. But Saturday Night Live had all the people in the 80s.
Yeah.
Gilda Radner, Jane Curtin, had all the peoples who were like on everything we watched in the 80s. Tom Hanks.
And Saturday Night Live, I think even to this day, is one of those shows that does get away with stuff, right?
It does. Listen, it's one of those things. Then Saturday Night Live like peaks and troughs. So you had this glorious period in the 80s, drops off. Billy Crystal's another one, drops off a little bit. Then you kind of have the Will Ferrell kind of generation, and then it drops off. It's really low quality. Tina Fey, low quality now. Okay, so the kind of first time it hits low quality, the producer is Lorne Michael, right? Lorne Michaels creates it.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's kind of one of those. He's like, kind of like Trump. He's the only person that knows how to run America. You know, you create a thing where you become the only person that knows how to run it. And he does the first few seasons. Then he decides, I've done it. I want to do something else. He leaves. Saturday Night Live stinks out the place.
Oh.
And the cast starts leaving because they all become major movie stars.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy, everyone. Like, they became major movie stars mid-80s.
It is quite funny because a lot of people who are on the Smartless podcast, especially comedians, a lot of them say that's where they got their start, Saturday Night Live.
I mean, so many.
So it's like a springboard, but then you don't stay.
No, you don't. It's a passing through thing, right?
Yeah.
And he gets brought back in the mid-'80s because they're like, listen, like, we don't know what to do. We're probably going to cancel this thing. We're in 10 seasons. It's been a good run. TV's moved on. Like, we're in a different space, whatever. Lorne Michael goes, I'm going to go younger. Okay? So he recruits a new cast. Good names there. Joan Cusack, Randy Quaid, Terry Sweeney, Damon Wayans, and then, of course, he gets Anthony Michael Hall. 17-year-old Anthony Michael Hall.
Sure, he still looks 17.
No, he
Okay,
looks his age now.
17 for many years.
He's one of those that kind of, we spoke about Rob Lowe last week, where you got all those guys who they've kind of never aged as they should, and some of them genetically, some of them biologically, some of them
surgically,
blood rituals,
yes.
And but Anthony Michael Hall looks like a guy his age, right?
Okay,
and nothing wrong. He looks like a fantastic guy his age. But he doesn't have that Rob Lowe, John Stamos freakishness. And Anthony Michael Hall goes, because you're the hottest thing right now. You're this, pin-up. Everyone loves you. You got a bit of a comedy thing about you.
Was this like Weird Science time?
It was just after Weird Science.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's like the guy. And he says, I got a friend.
He was in Weird Science with me.
Robert Downey. Just Robert Downey. That's what they called him, introduced him.
Bob.
And he says, listen, he's really hot. People like him. He could be the next thing. Can I have him on the show? He goes, this is fantastic. We've got two really young guys. I've got quite a solid...
And Robert's funny, hey? Like naturally funny.
Like really naturally funny.
Yeah.
And also at this time, like rumors and stories about his addictions, but difficult to work with. So it was hard for him to get work. And it was like, he was like, okay, it's not really what I want to do. I'm going to take it because nobody else is hiring me.
So let me tell you something I do know about their friendship.
Right.
Anthony Michael Hall never went into the drug thing. He is a very clean living man. But he was always there helping Robert during those times.
Yeah.
He was like the friend that stood by him.
And this is the thing, like he's just come out of rehab, like this is what he needs. We'll be good together. It can't go wrong. And it went wrong.
Okay.
It's, Saturday Night Live is on 50 years. I think they did 50 seasons now. This is regarded as the worst season, the weakest, lowest performing season ever. Okay. And these two kind of say that, like, firstly, they were way too young. Anthony Michael Hall says, listen, I was 17.
It's crazy.
I
have a 17-year-old. Yeah. That is crazy.
Yes, the writers were like, the youngest writer was like late 20s. How are they writing for a 17-year-old anything that's realistic? And when you watch the skits, they're very juvenile, like ridiculously juvenile. Like there's one where they they're super young. Robert Downey Jr., like he's 20, but such a baby. He looks younger than Anthony Michael Hall on the stage, right? And all their kind of skits are like super childish, and even for me to call them childish.
Wow.
Yeah. And it kind of didn't work. Some of the characters that Robert Downey Jr. played in is he did impressions of Elvis Presley. Okay, which apparently, now I can't find these because SNL are very good in their old stuff you can't get them on YouTube. The newest stuff you can find.
Okay.
The old stuff is kind of like very deep cut to go look for that. So he did Elvis Presley, which apparently was fantastic, a fantastic impersonation. John Mellencamp and George Michael.
Huh?
Yeah. No, it doesn't work because he's got the dark hair. This is like real middle of Wham era George Michael. Right?
I wonder what he specifically did.
Yeah, I can't find anything, but I will. I'm interested now. I will look for it. So none of it really works. And of course, you can't blame the two of them. They were really the junior members of the cast. You got a lot more experienced people, and a lot of them went on to have great careers.
Yeah.
Post this, Lorne Michaels begged. They were going to cancel. They said, "Listen, we gave you one chance. Like you've gone with this young thing." He accepts. He went way, way too young, right? And then they kind of only lasted one season. Huge cast overhaul. They only kept Dennis Miller and John Lovitz and Nora Dunn. And subsequently, both Robert Downey, who then became Junior after this, he was just Robert Downey, said that doing SNL, what was fantastic for him is it was his biggest lesson in realizing what he wasn't.
Oh, that's also a good lesson.
Yeah. As funny as he is, he's not a he's not a sketch comedian.
Yes.
He's just a funny guy. He's not a sketch guy, right? And I think that's right. And Anthony Michael Hall says, watching that later, because he didn't watch it in the beginning, he couldn't look at it because it just kind of ended badly. He was young. He loved it. He said it was fantastic. He loved doing that stuff. That was kind of right in his wheelhouse. But he says he was super young. They couldn't write for him. And he said, actually going back and watching was very healing. Very healing for him.
Yeah, shame. He didn't really have an amazing career, after the 80s. He was in a few huge 80s hits. And then after that, he was mostly doing made-for-TV stuff.
And now he does a lot of throwback, isn't that that's, and then you kind of quickly Google cast, hey, it's him. It's him. So he does a lot of that, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I think he's had a good life.
And he's done some good stuff.
Sometimes semi-fame is better than fame.
And he's done some good stuff.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? He doesn't have the demons that I think a lot of his fellow Brat Packers do.
Yep.
He's had a pretty straightforward life, and maybe that's what comes with it. That's what comes with it. And you know what? I would rather have been a pin-up at 17. Peak early. I peaked early.
Yeah.
I peaked early, and then
you lost your hair and went downhill.
That was so quick. Such a quick descent. So let's peak early. So that is the very strange story that I did not know. I honestly did not know.
I did know that he was on Saturday Night Live, but I didn't know the details, and I've never seen the clips.
Yeah. So, of course, we'll pop some up, that 80 show.
If we can find them.
Essay on Facebook. There are a few, and then just check out the show notes of this podcast. If you look at your phone, because that's where people are listening, and go, down show notes, and we put all the links at the bottom after
and do
my
read
hilarious
the show descriptions, because Paulo is very funny. He writes them.
I write them.
And he's funny.
That's not even AI transcribed. I write all of them.
He does. And he is also, like Robert Downey, naturally funny.
Yeah, naturally. And also a junior. Right, so every week on that 80 show, we like to go to the video stores of our mind. I believe we're not in the video store of our mind today, Dory.
No, we're not. We're doing something different today.
As Dory is one of those podcasters, because you get podcasters who don't listen to podcasts. Dory and I both make podcasts and listen to podcasts.
Yes.
And we bathe ourselves in podcasts. So covered in podcast juice.
I thought you were going to say goo. I think goo.
Yeah, goo isn't as salacious as juice. Juices are... goo's goo's not sexy.
Okay.
Juice is, podcast juice, just dripping off our body hairs.
Wow, what an image.
And that is Dory. What are you recommending for us this week?
This was a bit of an unplanned one, because I wasn't expecting it to have an 80s angle, but then I kind of liked it.
Unplanned podcast to see. I'm trying to do something there. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't expect this one to have an 80s angle, although I should have. And then when I listened to it, I thought, this is such an interesting story. And even though it's not entirely 80s related, I want to talk about it because I don't know how many people know the story of Christiania. Do you know Christiania? It's that hippie commune in Copenhagen, in Denmark.
Ooh, no.
Oh, do you not know about it? Oh, well then I'm very excited.
Dory, look what I'm doing now. I'm settling into my seat.
You're doing that little jiggle
I'm doing a little jiggle on my bum.
Yeah.
Settling in.
Yeah. So.
And I'm also going to do the old man thing where I put my cross my fingers and I put them on the top of my...
And are you going to nod slightly?
I might fall asleep.
Oh.
I cannot guarantee. I'm of that age.
Yes.
Where I'll fall asleep during retelling of stories. But I'll do my best to stay awake.
Well, I hope you will stay awake for this. I'm not going to bore you, I hope.
In my comfortable old Italian man pose.
So I found out about Christiania. Do you remember quite a few years ago, there was a song called 7 Years by a band called Lucas Graham.
Once I was 7 years old. Yeah.
That song.
Yeah, right.
I really loved that song, and I kind of delved into it a little bit, and turned out that he
was 7 years old.
No, the main singer, actually the whole band.
But they all were 7 years old
at some point.
Yeah.
And when they were 7 years old, they grew up in Christiania.
No ways.
Yeah, they are kids from this very unusual place. Now,
is it a sex thing?
No, funnily enough, not, right? Because I also thought it was.
Juices.
So
Danish Juices.
I want a Danish.
No, a juicy one.
So I found out about this place called Christiania, And it sounded really interesting, like this kind of hippie commune that made their own laws and was separate from the government. But I didn't know the history of it. And then I listened to a podcast this week. The actual podcast is called 99% Invisible. It's a great podcast. They do amazing topics. And he had an episode literally on Christiania, which went into the whole history of how it even came about, which is fascinating. It was an old military base that after World War II was obviously deserted because they didn't need it anymore. And these kids, these mostly runaways, kind of climbed the fence and moved in there and were like, this is our new home. And they took it over.
An abandoned military base.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was in the 70s where these kids kind of started just, I guess squatting is the word?
Yeah.
Squatting there.
Yeah.
But it grew and grew, and people came from all over the world to live in this place because it was so different and unique, and their whole thing was about freedom. In fact, its other name is Freetown.
Right.
And it's all about personal freedom, and we govern ourselves. And it grew into this community. Things have not worked out in the long run as you would want. And things started going wrong in the 80s.
It's still going, right? Because I assume
it is still going, kind of, but not the way it was.
Right.
So now there is a little bit of government intervention.
So tell me how the 80s fucked it up.
Well, how do you think the 80s fucked it up? Think about it. It's not sex. What's the other thing?
Drugs.
Right.
Cocaine.
It actually started with heroin, and then because people were dying, they outlawed heroin. So the place was supposed to be free to do whatever you want, but because people started dying of heroin, they were like, okay, we are just going to be a weed place. So then it was only just cannabis.
That's dark, though. I mean, you're in a place where you can. I mean, why would you? I mean, people do. Like, I don't understand. Like, look. I mean, the mind of. But heroin, like, that's a big jump in a hippie commune.
Yeah.
Effectively.
I think it was because you could do whatever you wanted, and the government was
really
kind of turning a bit of a blind eye.
Oh, okay.
They were like, well, let's just do everything.
And this is Denmark. I mean, like, you got to think, like, how loose, because Denmark's like always like one of the happiest places to live. They're very liberal. They're very open-minded. You go, shit, Christiania is like going to be like, that's balls out. Like, literally, yeah.
Like, we're going to take it even further, kind of thing. Yeah. But it does sound like there was a very good time, especially the early 80s, I think, was very happy time. By this stage, families were starting to grow in this place.
Okay.
It was becoming a proper community. And it became such an interest to people from around the world. It became like a tourist spot. And Bob Dylan and Metallica even performed there. They were like, we're going to go and play gigs there.
Very nice.
In the 90s, Rage Against the Machine played there. Other bands that I've never heard of because they're Danish also played there. But the ones that specifically stood out for me from the 80s, Bob Dylan and Metallica. And so even though it was just weed.
So while you said, as you said that there, like bands you didn't know of because they're Danish.
Yes.
I was looking at Danish bands from the 1980s.
Yes.
There is one called Merciful Fate, which is a Danish heavy metal band from Copenhagen, formed in the 1980s. A mask band. So they definitely, the lead singer has got a Kiss sort of face paint on with a huge, massive Game of Thrones crown.
Yeah.
And then also the soft cock rock band called Michael Learns to Rock are also Danish. Yeah.
Wow.
So they probably did play there, both of them.
Huh.
That is...
let me tell you who else performed there, even though you've probably never heard of them. Solvegnen, a Danish theatre group with a musical focus. Dunst, a performance group associated with Christiania, known for their unique performances.
They eat shit, basically. They're eating poo.
I mean, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Okay. During the 1970s and 80s, Rebecca Bruhl and Truls Trier were singers who performed there. Kulort Klat, a squatter performance network.
Basically, the basic is just the people of Christiania getting fucked up and getting on stage and going, hey, we're a band. Ding, 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 ding.
And apparently there was just music all the time. Like, it was quite a noisy place to live.
Yeah.
Like, and there were no bylaws.
That's why you're taking drugs. Like, what does it look like? Was it? I assume at some point there was houses. It was maybe started as
the footage
tents.
I have seen of it, it actually doesn't look great.
Okay.
Like, yes, they built houses. I mean, it was a military base, so there were structures, but people came in and built stuff.
And they're
created
all
infrastructure.
Can you imagine? They're all fucked on drugs all the time. Can you imagine what these places
So the
look
main
like?
road was called Pusher Street, which is where all the drugs were sold.
This place actually sounds like
I
a
want to just tell you
nightmare.
the last band that performed there, because they're called Bifrost, a flower power rock band that wrote the protest song "I kan ikke slå oss ihjel," which means you cannot kill us.
I'm sure you butchered. Thank God when I look
did.
at the stats of the show, I do not see one Danish listener.
Yo.
And
Apologies to all our Danish listeners.
Well, because Danish has got the O's with the line in it.
Yes, exactly. I don't know how to say
who
that
even
stuff.
knows that?
I don't know.
Who even knows how to do
Yeah.
that? I mean, it's way smarter than me, at least.
So just to go back to it, so Pusher Street became like the main road where everybody would go and buy their drugs. But then what started going wrong in the 80s was,
How did they earn money to buy the drugs?
so they actually, one of the things that the podcast said, which I found very interesting, this whole area was a no-car zone. You could not drive a car. It was not allowed. One of the big industries of Christiania was a bicycle factory. They made bicycles.
This makes sense.
It does make sense, right?
Cottage. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Obviously, they also sold these bicycles outside of Christiania.
Yeah.
But yeah, people I think it's possible that some people commuted outside of the area for
To
work.
do work and then come back in.
Yeah.
I can see it. Name of the podcast?
99% Invisible. And the episode is called Christiania. It's from late last year. You can scroll back and find it. What went wrong in the end really was that the gangs came in to take over the drug trade.
Right.
And that's when everything started going really, really wrong. And initially it was a very peace-loving place with no weapons. Then it became knives, then it became guns, then people started getting killed. So today it's very different. They had to call the government in.
This place sounds like this place
No,
sounds
it
like a
really doesn't
fucking
sound good.
shithole.
And I mean, they eventually had to call the government in the last few years to say, help us, because like everything was out of control,
and
basically.
the band who did the 7 years old lovely little song, they grew up there.
Yes, and if you actually look, he's got another song called Mama Said.
Yeah.
And if you look at the
Are they
music-
they're obviously Danish.
they are Danish.
Then. Have they performed back at Christiania?
Probably, but I mean, he's quite like internationally famous now. They've
Well,
performed all over the year.
That's what I'm
all
saying.
over the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
If you go and watch on YouTube the video for his song Mama Said, it's filmed in Christiania, so you can see what the place looks like. And grimy is the word.
Yeah.
It's grimy,
Okay.
you know?
That is Dory's podcast recommendation. Nothing to do with the 80s.
It has plenty to do with the 80s. It's the best I could do this week. Don't worry, I've got something amazing lined up for next week.
I got something. Dory, I've got a movie this week for you, of course.
Yay!
I was disappointed when I started watching it, but then I kind of got into it. It's about a teenager who finds a device that allows him to time travel. Now, you might be going, but Paulo, we've spoken about Back to the Future before. And I'm going to tell you it's not Back to the Future, Dory.
I'm sure it isn't.
Because they're kind of like once Back to the Future hit or people heard that a Back to the Future was being made and what it was about, they're all going, we got to make something like this, right? We've got to have our own Back to the Future. And I'm going to name you some kind of teenager, sci-fi, time-traveling movies from the 80s. You tell me which ones you've heard.
Okay.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Of course.
Okay. Back to the Future, of course. Explorers.
Isn't Explorers the TV series with John Eric Hexum?
Explorers is a movie, and you have heard about it because I've done it.
Okay.
The Last Starfighter, of course. Real Genius.
Of course.
Okay. Flight and the Navigator.
Yep.
Not teenagers, but it shares a main actor with my movie, Short Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are all movies that war games. Also, not sci-fi, but similar-ish.
Yeah.
These are all sci-fi teenage movies. Have you heard of the movie Dory? My Science Project.
I have not.
Exactly. But, Dory, the cast of my movie includes John Stockwell.
Who?
Okay, he was more a director. He was in Top Gun. When you see him, you know him.
Okay.
Fisher Stevens.
Oh, I know him.
Okay. And Dennis Hopper.
Love him.
Straight out of rehab, Dennis Hopper. I don't know if rehab worked based on watching this. I don't know.
He was always cooking.
I don't know how many of his coins he got by the time he started shooting this movie. Okay, so we are in a high school. Dennis Hopper is a fucking science teacher of all people.
Crazy science teacher.
A crazy science teacher. He actually wears an outfit that I'm pretty sure is the same outfit he wears in Easy Rider. Not just like literally the exact same outfit.
Okay.
Right? So he's a science teacher and he talks. John Stockwell and Fisher Stevens are students. John Stockwell just totally hates school, going to flunk out. He loves cars, wants to be a mechanic. And the teacher says, listen, you got a hand in any sort of science project or I'm failing you. So him and Fisher Stevens' character, they break into a military base, an abandoned military base.
Oh, there we go.
Therefore, sharing a link with your podcast.
Yes.
And they find a thing. They find this thing. Now,
does it glow and does it have smoke coming out of it?
All of that.
Of course.
Okay. And what we had known from right in the opening of the movie actually opens like this. We're in the 60s, and there is a spaceship that's crashed, and the U.S. military have taken the spaceship, and they've hidden it at the secret military base. And then we jump forward 30 years to them finding this. So we know it's from an alien spaceship.
So where's everyone on the base?
It's abandoned.
Oh, but
So
they left this thing there.
Yeah, they left this. Yeah, the base is abandoned. Never explained why. It's just an abandoned base.
And it never explained why they've left this important piece of technology from
and lots of
space.
and lots of shit. Because he breaks in, he says, "I'm gonna find something." Okay, he says, "I must hand in anything. I'm gonna find any piece of shit at this base, clean it up, and give it to as my science project." And he finds this thing. There's there's warheads there. There's missiles. He finds this thing. They clean it up, takes it to the teacher. Amazingly, this thing can plug into our wall sockets. It's obviously from space. It's got weird writing on it, but it's got a plug that plugs into 1980s USA wall sockets. Okay?
Convenient.
So they plug this thing in, whoosh, shiny things, all the sorts of 80s CGI that you can imagine. And what this thing does is it opens up time portals, right? And starts bringing in creatures or characters from all different eras in time. Cavemen,
Ooh.
Roman soldiers, people from the medieval eras, a dinosaur.
Oh.
And they all end up in this high school in this town and start running riot.
So they don't go anywhere, but people come
People come in. They've now opened this portal to all time and space, and it pulls everything from entire human history into this town. And now this movie is about shenanigans, trying to stop these things from taking over the town and figuring out how to send them all back.
I hope they got an A on their
timeline.
science project.
They did get an A, of course they did.
Yes.
Dennis Hopper disappears. He gets now reverse sucked out.
Okay.
And not the first time Dennis Hopper got reverse sucked out, I'm pretty sure.
Do you think he went back to the 60s where he was riding a motorbike?
He did go back to the 60s. He did.
Yeah.
That's the timeline he actually went back in. It's been described as the final scene has been described as Bill and Ted meets the Terminator.
Ooh.
With less budget and more neon. I'll post that final scene up for you. Soundtrack includes The Power Station, Loverboy, and Scandals. Very 80s stuff.
Nice.
But not their big hits or
Okay.
B stuff. It's very MTV on a budget. All the music videos, I mean, all the special effects, the CGI, the music, everything is kind of going, we need a movie that competes with Back to the Future. We're going to give you this.
Does it compete with Back to the Future?
No, it doesn't, but it's fun. It's a romp.
Okay.
If you watch it and go, I've never seen Back to the Future before,
Yes.
you wouldn't hate it.
Okay.
So basically, if
Well, if you don't compare it to Back to the Future.
So if you've never seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Back to the Future, The Lost Starfighter, Real Genius, Weird Science, Flight of the Navigator, Short Circuit, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, even Howard the Duck, you'll think this could be the best fucking sci-fi teen movie ever.
Hang on, you're saying it's worse than Howard the Duck?
My Science Project, when shop class meets the space-time continuum. The not very punchy.
That is very unpunchy.
Not at all. The full movie is on YouTube. I'll post that up. You
Yay.
can go give it a watch.
I will, actually.
It's not terrible. And, you know, it's one of those things. Fisher Stevens is great, though.
He's always great.
It's so weird seeing him young. And
He
it's
looked
so,
old when he was young.
Exactly. It's so weird seeing him young and not doing a terrible impersonation of an Indian man.
Oh,
like he
my
did in Short
God.
Circuit. Yes. If you're wondering who Fisher Stevens is, he's the guy who is allegedly the guy who builds Johnny Five. But Fisher Stevens is not an Indian man.
He's also in Succession.
He's in Succession as well. And he's young. Allegedly, he's young in this.
He's been in so many things. He's never been the main guy.
He's one of those guys where you go, I don't know his name, and then you see him,
I know this guy.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know him.
He's a funny looking guy.
He's and never looking young. And he's got this like 60s greaser vibe in the 80s. Because a lot of people had that in the 80s. It was like, you saw that a lot. There was always like a greaser character. And he's very greasy. Very, very greasy, wisecracking, that whole thing. He's a highlight. I did enjoy him and Dennis Hopper just being, like I say, that rehab. I hope you kept the
I'll watch it just for Dennis Hopper.
That's what I'm saying. So that My Science Project, give it a watch. Dory, billionaires from the 80s.
Okay.
Bill
Gates?
Bill
He was
Gates.
a millionaire in the 80s.
He was a millionaire. But if you had to say billionaires now, female billionaires, who are we thinking?
Female billionaires. Oprah.
It's the first one. Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Beyonce. I don't know if she's a billionaire. Rihanna's a billionaire. Selena Gomez is a billionaire. And not for music, for a makeup brand.
One of the Kardashians.
Oh, yes, the young one. She's a billionaire. Also a makeup brand. Do you know that somebody from the 1980s is richer than all of them? She has...
Is it Donald Trump?
She...
Okay.
Been in stuff like Endless Love, 16 Candles, Less Than Zero, and The Lost Boys. Also,
Jamie Gertz?
Well done, Dory. Jamie Gertz is worth a very, very cool $8 billion.
How?
Exactly. That is a lot of residual checks. No, not at all. So, Jamie Gertz is sitting on a fortune of $8 billion. Now you go... Now, if we're thinking stereotypical 80s, she married rich. Actually, no. She married well, and her husband is... So she's obviously got her own money, and she invested all of her money in the 80s, made good business decisions, right? Also because her husband is a 80s banker.
Okay.
He manages a $125 billion fund. They just have a fuckload of money, Dory. They own the Atlanta Hawks baseball team. they owned a portion in the Milwaukee Brewers, which I think is also a baseball team. They have got so much fucking money.
So clever investments, eh?
Clever investments, investing in sports.
Because, I mean, I love her, don't get me wrong, but she certainly wasn't a big star.
But you see, if you stay in your lane, you're never going to make that money. I mean, you can make Hollywood money, or you can make like investment fund money. They own sports teams. Says they collect sports teams like other people collect wine glasses.
I would never in a million years have guessed that.
$8 billion.
Amazing.
That is some good money from Jamie Gertz. Did you know Cher was in a rock band?
I mean, I know Cher's a singer.
Right? I mean, she was with Bono. Sonny Bono. How do you say it? Sonny Bono. She's
Bono.
Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
She was a Sonny Bono.
Sonny and Cher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she was Cher by herself.
Yes.
But in the 1980s, people go to a Hall Oates concert, and there is an opening act called Black Rose. And they go, we're here to see Hall Oates. We're here to see your man eater. We're here to hear your kisses on my lips. And then Black Rose, the fuck are these guys? Going to get some beers. Is that Cher? So Cher was dating the guitarist of this band, Les Dudek. And she said, you know what? It's fun. I love rock and roll. I want to be the lead singer of this band. So Dory and I are going to break away for a second. You're going to hear it for 5 seconds. It's going to take us a couple of more seconds in that. I want to play Dory some of the music from this band, Black Rose, and we'll discuss it. And maybe you pop into the show notes, go further down, you'll see it. We'll post the playlist there and listen to some of the songs. And we'll be back just after this little noise. So, Dory, your first comments upon hearing that was?
Better than her usual stuff. I prefer it to her other pop stuff, I guess you'd call it.
There's some stuff that's rocky. There's some stuff that is very Cher-y.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mixed bag right there, but they did release an album. That's kind of what you will see there in the show notes. she was deliberately not involved with this band. She doesn't want to be on the cover art. She's not credited anywhere. She didn't want this to be Cher's band.
Yeah.
She was just a singer in the band that just fucking happened to be Cher, probably one of the biggest people at the time. But maybe because she didn't believe that the band would make it, because not great reception, like never really did anything, not
Open
really
for
popular.
Hall Oates, though.
Probably because somebody knew that Cher's involved. I mean,
maybe.
If we do delve into it, we're probably going to find they're on the same record label, similar publicist, maybe the same manager that went like, Hall & Oates go, who the fuck are these guys? I go, well, it's Cher's new band. And they're like, oh, okay, well, fuck. You know.
Yeah.
Not like Hall & Oates would have the choice. So it's probably that. I mean, I very much doubt they'd be opening for Hall & Oates Cher-less.
Cher-less.
You know, sans Cher. There has been like a kind of like revisionism on the band of people coming across it and going, you know, Cher's actually not a bad rock singer, especially for the time.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a fantastic singer, and they're saying like kind of Blondie-ish this band could have gone if they'd really pushed it. You know, this wasn't the worst thing ever, not maybe for the great opening, but thinking back to it goes very much of the era, not worse than a lot of the stuff going on at the time. And just a very quick chapter in Cher's musical story and her journey.
She should do some performances, because I know she's still going strong.
She's very much still going strong.
What is she, like 102?
Yeah, Cher's... But she's good. I mean, hey.
She's got longevity.
Hey, longevity and long hair. Anyway, this has been That 80s Show. Everything we spoke about today can be found on That 80s Show essay on Facebook, or check the show notes and read my show descriptions.
Yes, read them. They're so good.
Thank you, Dory. Thank you for that personal endorsement. We will post up some Robert Downey Jr., SNL. RDJ, SNL. That's a lot. RDJ, CMH, SNL. TLDR.
CMH?
AMH.
AMH.
AMH. God damn it. Dory Sarno, your favorite thing in the show today? Jamie Gertz worth $8 billion.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Psh. Marry rich, marry well. That's what her husband went. He married well. He married rich. She was also one of Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriends. Every late 80s, early 90s hotties was Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend. Terry Hatcher, Jamie Gertz, Courtney Cox, Deborah Messing. He knew how to pick them. When you're the producer of the show, you just get hotties. And then he married someone very young, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
That's for another day. That 80s Show. Hit subscribe. Share this with a friend. And thank you for being a friend, Dory. Goodbye.
Goodbye.